Hey guys, welcome to Laney's Legends. In this series, I am honored to speak to the people that have inspired me over the years, the stars of our sport. I'm excited to bring to you the first of the Laney's Legends. She's a legend in both of my worlds, both USTA and NBTA, and she is one of the few twirlers who can say that they have won a gold medal in team in both organizations. In every sense of the word, she is a twirling icon, and it doesn't matter where you are, but when she starts twirling, the whole room stops to watch. She is one of the few athletes that has taken twirling out of our little world and brought it to the masses, and I am honored that she has agreed to speak with me today. Joining me today is the iconic Jennifer Marcus.
Hey Lanes, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you a little bit. I'm really looking forward to our interview. So bring it on. What questions do you have for me?
Well, I'm sure you know this, but you have been such an incredible role model of mine. I've looked up to you since I was a little kid. And I am interested to find out, who was your biggest role model / inspiration while you were still competing?
That's a good question. So sort of have like a two-parter. So one, I'll say that my two coaches that were my coaches for the most of like the end of my career, like probably the 15 years until I retired. And that was Jeanette Groom and Michelle Steele. And they were my inspirations because they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and they pushed me to always get to the next level. And so at trainings and practices, and they always would give me things that I just didn't think were possible, but they knew that I had the potential to work and get that. And because they knew that, they really helped get me to, to get me to where my goals were within the sport. And so I'm so, so grateful for both of them and all the coaches that I had before I moved over to them, because they believed in me. And yeah, and like I said, they were just so innovative and creative and had a really unique way of getting me to try things that I didn't think were possible. So definitely inspired by both my coaches. And then as far as a person growing up through the sport, I'm not sure if there's just one, but what I'll say is I was really inspired by the Japanese twirlers and the French twirlers growing up. And I remember being at the World Championships the first few years. I think my first year I was 12, just like you, but it was a long time ago. It was in 1996. And through those next couple of years of me being at the World Championships, I remember looking up to those countries and wanting them to learn my name and know who I was. And so I was so inspired by what they were doing, how creative they were, how talented they were. And so I'd go home every year for the World Championships reinvigorated and re-inspired and want to keep improving so that I could impress them the next year, I guess. And so they would learn my name. It sounds so silly, but that's what motivated me. And so, yeah, I would just say like the Japanese and French delegations throughout my career always were so inspiring because they were always just, cutting edge of our sport. And so I really admired that.
I have looked up to the Japanese since long before my first World Championships, but attending my first World Championships back in 2014, I remember watching them in amazement at all that they could do, and the French team and how innovative they were. They were constantly creating new things that I couldn't even understand how they were possible. Their contact material, their low difficulty, their rolls, everything was just so new and unique, stuff that you had never seen before. And that was extremely inspiring. There we go. There's the words. That was extremely inspiring because in America, you see people that do super cool new things, but it's very different overseas. So seeing what they're doing was really cool, especially in person. Seeing it in video is one thing, but being there in person and watching it with your own two eyes is like, wow.
Yeah, very impressive.
Yes. Now, talking about Worlds and the many Worlds experiences you've had, if you had to choose a favorite event, what would it be?
I would say it's a tie between three baton and solo. So three baton, I adore this event because I look at the event like a puzzle, and figuring out each trick and how it works with where each baton goes and how to get them so close to each other but without hitting. I just found it so fun. And my coach Jeanette was a brilliant mastermind, is still. And she would come up with my routine and new tricks and new ways and new additions of doing things. And she would just like add on to it every single year. And I really just had the task of going home and mastering it. And she was the brains behind it all. And so that event for me, it was what I looked forward to going to practice every day, because I just wanted to get better and I wanted to figure things out and figure how they worked. And then also solo is and always will be my favorite routine to compete, but also it was my one of my happiest memories was winning the national championships, or when I won nationals in that event, because for me solo is like the iconic event of what baton twirling really is. It's technical, it shows all the skills, and it's fast, and it's just like, I just had so much fun competing it and trying to get it faster, and I just loved doing it. So I think those will always be my top two favorites. And yeah, I don't know how you feel about what are your favorites?
I don't know. It's so hard for me to choose a favorite because I love different aspects of every single routine. So I love different things about all of them. But I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd probably say freestyle, because I get to incorporate a little bit of everything into one routine. So there's like the artistry and the performance aspect, and then I get to incorporate my dancing into it. But then there's also those really fast and difficult flip sections in there, and your rolls that you're trying to push to new limits. And I feel like freestyle really kind of combines everything except that multiple baton, but I'd have to choose that.
I don't blame you. You're phenomenal in freestyle, so if I could freestyle like you, that'd be my favorite event too.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to go back a little bit towards that three baton, one of your favorite events you were talking about, how it's a little bit of like a puzzle piece that you're trying to figure out, well, a puzzle that you're trying to figure out with a bunch of different puzzle pieces. And three baton being such a difficult event, I'm sure that there are some good practice days and some bad practice days. We all have them, but I want to know what helped you push through those bad practice days and come out on the other side.
Yeah, so I don't know how many full practice days were like so bad. What I do remember is there were days where like an event was not going well, and what I typically did was like move on from the event. So if it wasn't going well and I was, obviously I was like trying, and it just kept getting, worse and worse, because, like the more frustrated I'd get, the more angry, and then it would just keep getting worse. I would just move on to the next event. And my coaches and my mom, would always remind me, like, if you're stuck in a rut, like move on and then come back. And so at the time I was competing, most of my career I competed in all different, all of the events. And so it was a lot to practice every single day. So I typically each day practiced a few of them, and then the next day would do the few that I didn't do, and then rotate like that. And so if something wasn't going well, I would just scrap it and chalk it up to like, today is not a solo day, we're moving on to two baton, and we'll revisit it tomorrow. And most of the time, but the next day when I came back to it, I was like refreshed and had a better, attitude, going into it, and everything would be fine. So that's probably, advice that I would give to young twirlers also, is if something's getting really frustrating or something's not working, move on, come back to it, re-explore it. And if you're still having trouble, then, try to get some help from, a coach, or try to break it down more. But sometimes you're just having just an off day, and like, that's okay too.
Absolutely. I don't know about you, but personally, I am a super, super duper perfectionist, so I want everything I do to be perfect right away, which is so unlikely. It's just about impossible to receive a new routine and have a perfect no drop the day you receive it. It's never going to happen unless it's complete luck. But it was really hard for me to grasp the idea that it was okay to not be perfect at that exact moment. My goal was to work over the next months until nationals to be perfect. I didn't have to be perfect leading up to any competitions. The only thing that matters is that you're improving every time you go into the gym. You want to get a little bit better every single day. It's going to take months and months to get to that idea of perfection that we have, but as long as we're improving little bits by little bits, I know it's getting better, which kind of kept me positive, because when things wouldn't work first try, I'd get a little frustrated and whatnot. But I always had to keep a positive outlook on things and know that it was going to get easier. It just was going to take time.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you feel is the most important aspect of a routine?
Well, with different routines, obviously there's different focuses, whether it's solo, freestyle, team routines, all of that. But I think the one encompassing aspect would be confidence, feeling confident with your program, feeling confident with each trick within it. I know for me, when I had trained a lot and when I was confident in what I could do, that's when I was least nervous. And when I wasn't confident and like I didn't really trust that I could do my routine, that's when I was like a nervous wreck, and I typically made a lot of mistakes. So I feel like no matter, whether you're doing solo, two-ton, or any event, what you're able to bring to the routine is, confidence and how well you like the routine. Because if you don't like something within the routine, sometimes just like one small change, like changes the feeling of the whole program. And so when I'm coaching some of my students, if there's one thing that they really are frustrated about, even though I know that they can do it, sometimes it's worth changing it for them to feel better about the whole program. So I never get attached I try not to get attached to one thing in a routine. So if I need to change it, make them feel better. And I know that really helped for me. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Hearing that answer was not what I expected at all. I was expecting something about handling and speed or control or something, difficulty in your rolls or emotion and in your freestyles. But I absolutely love that answer, because now that I think about it, to do a good job or even to walk on the floor with a smile on your face, you have to be comfortable in what you're doing. You have to be confident and know that you can do that routine. You want to know that every trick in it you've caught before. You never want to walk on the floor maybe I'll catch this trick. You want to know that 99% of your routine is going to be in your hand because you've drilled it so much and it's so comfortable for you.
Yeah.
That just opened my eyes on a whole level, because that was not where my brain was going at all. And I absolutely loved that.
Thanks. Yeah, because I think, the different aspects of a routine, whether it's motion or technical, all of those things, that's obviously what's important and makes the whole routine. But if you don't have any confidence or you're not comfortable with something, you could have all the right ingredients, but it's not going to come out the way that you want.
Right. Even though you say freestyle isn't your favorite event, what's your favorite freestyle that you've ever done?
I'd have to choose 2007 when I did Harem, which was kind of like an Arabian number. It's one of the only ones that I can watch and be proud of. I have a hard time watching any other freestyle I ever did because I don't know, I just don't think I was very good at it. And I just see so many problems and so many mistakes. And I guess that's the only year in freestyle specifically that I can watch. And I'm like proud to show people, but everything else I'm like, no, don't watch that one. So yeah, 2007.
I think we all have a few routines that are like that, but I'm sure I know for a fact that 90% of your routines are beautiful and flawless.
Thank
And
you.
you should be proud to show them to anyone because they're amazing. But if you had to choose, what is your favorite twirling memory?
This one's easy because I think about this often, even though it happened a long time ago. But I'll say the 2002 World Championships in Canada, where I won my first World Championship title along with my team, Encore. We were representing the United States, and there's a few reasons why it was so memorable. Mostly because the routine meant so much to me and to the team, to me, to our country. We did a tribute to 9/11, which was a horrific experience that we were all dealing with. And we actually started the year with a different program, and then halfway through the year, before Worlds changed it to do this. And it meant a lot to us, and we felt like we were representing our country. And so there was a lot of weight on our shoulders, but it was really important. And that team that year, just like the different members, we bonded so much and we trained so hard. We went to the World Championships with no expectations. You know, at that point, the United States hadn't won gold in team in 10 years. And so we didn't go in expecting to win by any means. We just went in hoping to represent our country really well and to do a really lovely tribute. And along the way, I guess we did enough twirling-wise to also get the scores to win. And I'll never forget getting the chills talking about it. We were on the podium, and I think we were the last team, or maybe one of the last teams to go, but the top contenders had already gone, and so we already had heard their scores. And we're on the podium, and we knew our scores were high. We started hearing yelps from our parents in the stands. And it was the yelp of, you guys just won, sort of. And so we just started crying right there on the podium. We were holding holding hands, and we walked off, and, we all embraced, our coaches were crying, we were crying. Our parents came running down, and then it wasn't just our parents, it was the whole twirling delegation that year. They all came running down, and it was like this big celebration of, we all united over our sport and over this moment. And twirling obviously can be a competitive field, and it was like the first time that I really felt everyone come together and be happy for one another and be honored to represent the United States. And so it's a memory that will always, always, always shoot to the top of my list and gives me chills every time. And I just love that program so, so much.
Now, although I was a baby when you guys did that routine, I was a little over a year old at the time, but I have seen videos of that performance, and it gives me chills. The emotion you guys conveyed throughout that performance, not only in your facial expressions, but in your body language, and the story you were telling throughout your twirling was so moving. And I think the crowd and the judges had to feel it on such a level that was so moving. And for me to feel it through a video, I can only imagine what it felt like in person to witness that and to feel you guys as the athletes, the emotion you guys were giving off. And I'm sure the crowd, especially from the U.S. Supporters, I'm sure the emotion they were giving off was, I'm sure the whole room was crying by the end of that performance. I can only imagine.
It was really special.
Okay, so this interview was so incredible that we're actually going to have to make it a two-parter. So stay tuned to hear Jen talk about her hopes for Twirling's future, her experiences in Cirque du Soleil's Volta, and who, in all Twirlings, past or present, she would love to do a pairs routine with. I promise you won't be disappointed. So until then, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up, and if you do want to hear part 2 of Jen and I's interview, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye.